Hey guys, I'm Valiant. If you guys want to catch me live, I stream on Twitch and sometimes TikTok. I'm excited to share this build with you guys. I hope you enjoy. I've been getting a lot of questions on how to kill Uber Lilith, and my answer is injured build's probably the easiest way to do it. So I ended up switching back to my other build and then upgrading it. And as you can see in this video, the build does insane damage. This build has 7 glyphs, but all of them are defensive. So if you wanted to do even more damage, you could switch in Spirit or Exploit. Before we start, let me say I am using one unique, and it's a Great Staff of Crone. It's not required, but for the build to excel, and especially to kill Uber Lilith, I would suggest having it. The stats on the unique don't matter really. We're using it for 2 reasons. For Claw to apply Storm Strike, which applies vulnerability, and for Storm Strike to reset our Earthen Bulwark. If you're already using my other build, this one is just a couple minor adjustments from it. So I already have a video of me defeating Uber Lilith, and that will be posted tomorrow. So for our abilities, not much has changed. We are now using Poison Creeper because this is an injured build. We can't use Bloodhowl because it's going to heal us, and we want to stay below 35% life. So we switched to Poison Creeper mainly to help keep the ads in place during the boss fight. I'm going to keep this section short because everything else is the same. Hurricane for the damage reduction, Bulwark for the damage. Cataclysm's still our ultimate. I just prefer it over Petrify. And Claw to apply vulnerability and to reset our Earthen Bulwark. And we're also going to be using Cyclone Armor for additional damage reduction. So for the gear and aspects, the priority stats are relatively the same. There's a few changes. We're going to need damage reduction while injured on our boots, pants, and amulet, and it would be best if those were as near to maxed out as possible. For the helm, I'm using the aspect of might, which gives you 20% damage reduction with your basic skills. And the stat priority is attack speed. Attack speed is huge for this build. The faster we attack, the faster we reset Earthen Bulwark. Total armor, because we are trying to be as tanky as possible. Barrier generation, it increases the damage of your Earthen Bulwark. And cooldown reduction to help with our ultimate and other skills, and Earthen Bulwark on top of that. For our chest, our aspect is going to be Mending Stone, more of a safety net to be sure that you have Earthen Bulwark up at all times, even between procs. The stat priority for the chest is going to be plus ranks to Earthen Bulwark. This is huge because it increases the barrier that you receive from each level accordingly through your barrier generation. Next, we're going to be looking for total armor, and then 2 forms of damage reduction. Damage reduction from Fortify would be best because it affects all types of damage that you receive, and then damage reduction from Close would be the second best option just because we can stack it easily. Another good option would be flat damage reduction, which would affect all types of damage as well. And probably the worst option would be damage reduction from poison, because you're not always going to have poison on everything. For the gloves, I'm using the rapid aspect, which increases the basic skill attack speed by up to 30%. Stats you should be looking for would be attack speed. You need as much attack speed as possible, critical strike chance, and then storm skill cooldown reduction and lucky hit chance. Another good option would be critical strike damage with earth skills, because our damage is all going to be coming from the bulwark in this build. For our pants, the aspect I'm using is disobedience. This helps you stack your armor up. My base armor is 8k, and I think I end up with around 12k in this build. We're going to need damage reduction while injured here, total armor, damage reduction while fortified, and I have dodge, but there's better options, either damage reduction from close or flat damage reduction. For the boots, you will want movement speed for dungeon, but if you're specifically going for Uber Lilith, it's not required. Make sure you have evade charges, that comes in handy during the fight. And then we're going to need damage reduction while injured here as well. Percent total armor in werewolf, dodge chance, and willpower are all stats. The aspect we are using is Ghostwalker aspect. While unstoppable, which we will be at all times pretty much, you gain up to 25% increased movement speed, so it's basically a movement speed buff at all times. And then the Great Staff of Crone, the source of our vulnerability. It makes it so that exploit glyph is optional, and it helps proc symbiotic aspect through our Storm Strike ability. The ranks of Claw and Storm Strike really don't matter in this build. The main thing we are using the Great Staff of Crone for is to apply Storm Strike. All the other stats are just a bonus. And for our gems, we are going to be using emeralds. Increase critical strike damage to vulnerable enemies, which we will be applying vulnerable at all times. And for our armor, we're going to be using all diamonds. This increases our barrier generation, which increases the barrier granted from the bulwark and the damage that shrapnel does. For the amulet, the aspect's going to be symbiotic. When the Nature's Fury key passive triggers a free skill, your non-ultimate cooldowns of the opposite type are reduced by up to 8 seconds. This, combined with the Great Staff of Crone applying Storm Strike, is what keeps our Earthen Bulwark reset. The stats you are going to be looking for are going to be damage reduction while injured, percent total armor and werewolf, movement speed, and plus ranks to defensive skills. Other good options would be damage reduction while fortified, or any form of damage reduction, plus 3 ranks to envenom, or plus 3 ranks to crushing earth. Like I said earlier, the movement speed isn't necessary for Lilith. For the rings, I'm using the Crash Zone aspect and the Natural Balance aspect. Natural Balance is a must. And for the stats, you should be looking for barrier generation, vulnerable damage, critical strike chance, and critical strike damage. Other good choices would be critical strike damage with earth skills or max life, which would increase the amount of barrier you could receive. For the hearts, we are using the Barber, Inexorable Force, and the Caged Heart of Revenge. You're going to need a purple and pink socket. For Uber Lilith, you would need a purple and orange socket because we would be switching from Inexorable Force to the Caged Heart of Tempting Fate, which increases our critical strike damage up to 80%. For the Spirit Boons, I'm going to be taking Wariness. You take 10% reduced damage from elites. Swooping attacks, because attack speed is everything in this build. Avian Wrath for increased critical strike damage. You could also take Scythe Talons for increased critical strike chance, or Pack Leader, but Pack Leader is not useful in Uber Lilith. For the next boon, we are going to be taking Bolster. This is necessary. It keeps our Fortify maxed out, because we're constantly using Earthen Bulwark, and it gives us extra damage reduction from our Glyphs and our stats. And for our last boon, we are going to be using Calm Before the Storm. It's going to increase the uptime of our ultimate, which is Cataclysm. For our skill tree, we're going to be putting 1 point in Claw, Enhanced Claw, and 1 point into Wild Claw, and then 1 point into Storm Strike, 1 point into Enhanced Storm Strike, and 1 point into Fierce Storm Strike. For our core skills, we are going to put 3 points into Predatory Instinct. Then in our defensive skills, we are going to be putting 5 points into Earthen Bulwark, 1 point Enhanced Earthen Bulwark, and 1 point in Innate Earthen Bulwark, 1 point into Cyclone Armor, 1 point Enhanced Cyclone Armor, and 1 point into Preserving Cyclone Armor, 1 point into Ancestral Fortitude, and 3 points into Vigilance. In our companion skills, we are going to be putting 1 point into Poison Creeper, 1 point Enhanced Poison Creeper, and 1 point of Brutal Poison Creeper. For our Wrath skills, we are going to be putting 1 point of Hurricane, Enhanced Hurricane, and Savage Hurricane, 3 points into Crushing Earth, and then 3 points into Stone Guard, and 1 point to Safeguard, 1 point of Neurotoxin, 1 point of Toxic Claws, and 3 points into Envenom. And for our ultimate skills, we are going to be putting 1 point into Defiance, 3 points into Natural Disaster, and 3 points into Resonance. Our ultimate's going to be Cataclysm, and 1 point into Prime Cataclysm, and then 3 points into Quick Shift, and 3 points into Heightened Senses. And for our key passive, we are going to be taking Nature's Fury. Casting our Earth skill has a 30% chance to trigger a free Storm skill, and it does the same for Storm skills. This combined with the Symbiotic aspect is which allows us to spam Earthen Bulwark nonstop. And then the most optional points that you can move would be the 1 point from Defensive Posture, the 2 points from Quick Shift, and the 1 point from Safeguard. You put these into Digigrade Gate or whatever else you see fit. Next, I'm going to show a tier 100 dungeon so you can see what the game plays like. In this video, I'm at like 60% damage reduction while injured, which you need to be around 80. I didn't need to use a potion or a heal in any way. I just wanted to show how strong the build is, even when it's lacking in certain areas. And then after that, I'll go over the Paragon Board. As you can see, this build does insane damage, and I'm emphasizing on defense instead in the Paragon Board. If you wanted to increase the damage of this build, there's a couple things you can do.
Must wait a moment. Time to do that.
For the Paragon board, we are going to be going up and to the left. We are going to be taking the rare node Tenacity for life and armor. Our glyph is going to be Werewolf for damage reduction and some extra damage. We're going to go up the left side and take the rare node Impel. Our next board is going to be the Inner Beast board. We are not going to take the legendary node. We're going to be taking the attack speed. Our glyph's going to be Protector, 10% damage reduction and more armor. We're going to grab the armor in this board and more life. And here you could grab Havoc for more damage, or you could take the armor nodes on the bottom side. Then we're going to go out to the left. Our next board is going to be Earthen Devastation. We are going to be taking the legendary node here. We're going to take the Crushing Earth node to buff Earthen Bulwark. And our glyph's going to be Shapeshifter. This increases our critical strike damage with Earth skills and gives us 20% chance to cause the skill's damage to critically strike. We're going to go out to the left. We're going to take the Constricting Tendrils board. The glyph's going to be Fang and Claw. And then we're going to go down and take the Heightened Malice board. And the glyph's going to be Earth and Sky. And then we're going to go back to the Inner Beast board. We're going to go up to the Ancestral Guidance board. And we're going to get the glyph Territorial for more damage reduction. And then we're going to go back down to the Inner Beast board and go out the right side to the Lust for Carnage board and grab our final glyph, Undaunted. I'll have a link in the video description to the build planner. And I'll be posting the Uber Lilith video tomorrow, which will give tips. I'll also be showing my stats and explaining what stats are necessary. If you have any comments or questions, I'm more than happy to help. I appreciate your support. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.